face. Matthew stayed as still as a lead soldier, and I did the same, fused to a plate of the earth, not even breathing, just trying to exert some small measure of control over my life for a few final seconds. The world at that moment was reduced to a thin sort of strip, like a newspaper cartoon, a ribbon of life that started with Matthew, the butt of the rifle wedged at his shoulder, and ended 2 frames later with Hannah, motionless, tied to a tree. But then came a sound that snapped us both out of it, something small scurrying through the undergrowth, Matthew's head jolting and his body coming alive. He leaned the gun carefully, almost respectfully, against a rock and began to creep forward, stopping an arm's length away and peering in at Hannah like she was darkness in a cave. He picked up a stick and prodded her arm. Nothing. He jabbed again, Hannah's flesh like dough, a small crater of skin filling itself back in. Raising the stick higher, he hesitated a moment. What kind of a world might exist beyond the curtain? And then Matthew parted her hair. That's when I first noticed the blood dripping from Hannah's chin, soaking the neckline of her t-shirt, its pink collar crimsoning. I spun around and spat on the ground, my eyes beginning to scope the woods, looking to see if anyone else might have witnessed it all. When I turned back, Matthew still had his stick under her hair, standing there with his head to one side, as if reading spines in a bookstore. "Hey, come take a look," he said. I pressed the heel of my hand to the bridge of my nose, trying to push out the gathering sense in my forehead, a new universe exploding. "The BB's gone right through her eye," said Matthew. "Straight into her brain. She's stone cold dead." I couldn't rub my forehead hard enough to make the pressure go away, so I started to hit myself instead. Thump, thump, thump. Still to this day, the heel of my hand fits perfectly into the hollow between my nose and my brow. "I said come here," said Matthew, turning to me. "We haven't got the whole damn day, Tricky." It was only Matthew who called me Tricky. To everyone else, I was Patch or Patrick, or sometimes Patty or Patty Boy to my dad. But Matthew was Matthew to everyone, me included. He'd never let you shorten his name. Would even correct adults if they tried on a Matt or a Matty to see if it fit. "My name's Matthew," he would say every time, very calm and straightforward. Sniffing, I started to move, feeling like old kings must have felt taking their final steps to the executioner's block, which is a selfish way to think of it, but that's just how it was at the time. I walked as steadily as I could toward the 2 figures connected by a stick, and when I stopped, Matthew pulled me closer, positioning me at the perfect spot. "What do you think, Tricky?" he said. Swallowing hard, I ran my eyes along Hannah's measled arms up to the circle of rope burn like a choker around her neck. And then, not turning to face her, but with grimacing eyes, I peeked beneath Matthew's stick. There was nothing but blood and mess, and some of the blood was already congealing. Blackness and wetness and skin. Hannah's left eye socket looked like it was housing a dark, smashed plum. "Yeah," I said, trying not to cry. "She's dead." Matthew dropped the stick. We didn't check for breathing. We didn't feel for a pulse. I stood there for a moment, and then Matthew tugged me, not unkindly, hooking his fingers in the back of my shirt to break the spell. We didn't make the sign of the cross. We didn't pray for her soul. There are layers of rock piled high everywhere in the Swangam Mountains like stacks of pancakes. Our failures were mounting as well. We didn't even cut her down. I don't know what an ideal childhood is, but I know until that Wednesday, one hot yellow day of 1982, I believed I was living it. Believed my parents were happy, that I was growing up in the best place on earth, probably still believed in ghosts, UFOs, tarot cards, and the purity of Major League Baseball. My hometown was Roseborn, 90 miles north of New York City.